Right there is the church that claims to hold the original Ark of the Covenant.
There are several legendary historical artifacts known to humanity because the tales of these treasures have been passed down from our ancient ancestors. However, many of these still haven't been discovered and their whereabouts remain a mystery. Archaeologists and historians have long been searching for these ancient relics, but they haven't been able to locate several of these despite searching for decades. One such fabled artifact is the Ark of the Covenant. For centuries now, humanity has been trying to find the sacred relic, but to no avail. But recently it was revealed by a distinguished writer that he may have stumbled upon its true location. The Ark of the Covenant is also known as the Ark of the Testimony or the Ark of God. It is an alleged artifact thought to be the most sacred relic of the Israelites. According to the historical description, the Ark is actually a wooden chest covered in pure gold. It has an elaborately designed lid that is called the mercy seat. In the book of Exodus, it was revealed that the Ark contained 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. And according to the New Testament book of Hebrews, it also contained Aaron's rod and a pot of manna. The biblical account states that around 1 year after the Israelites' exodus from Egypt, Moses initiated the construction of the ark according to the pattern given to him by God when the Israelites were encamped at the foot of Mount Sinai. After this, the gold-plated acacia chest was carried by its staves by the Levites around 2,000 cubits of the people when on the march. Legend says that God spoke to Moses from between the 2 cherubim on the ark's cover. The book of Exodus suggests that God instructed Moses to build the ark during his 40-day stay on Mount Sinai. The pattern for the tabernacle and furnishings of the ark were revealed to him. He was also told to construct it using shittim wood, also known today as acacia wood, in order to house the tablets of stone. Moses then instructed Bezalel and Aholiab to construct the ark. The book also provides detailed instructions on how the ark was to be constructed. It was supposed to be 2.5 cubits in length, 1.5 cubits in breadth, and 1.5 cubits in height. Then it was to be gilded entirely with gold, and a crown or molding of gold was to be put around it. 4 rings of gold were supposed to be attached to the 4 corners, 2 on each side. Through these rings, staves of shittim wood overlaid with gold were to be inserted for carrying the ark. These were not to be removed at any cost. Caperet, the golden lid, is the ornament having 2 golden cherubim. It was supposed to be placed above the ark. The account does not contain instructions regarding the thickness of the caperet, and the details about the cherubim besides that the cover was to be beaten out over the ends of the ark and that they form the space where God would appear. After the construction was completed, the book instructed that the ark was to be placed under a veil to keep it concealed. After the creation of this ark by Moses, it was carried by the Israelites during their 40 years of wandering in the desert according to the biblical account. When they camped, the Israelites would place it in a separate room inside a sacred tent that was called the tabernacle. When they arrived at the banks of the river Jordan under the leadership of Joshua, who led them to the promised land, the ark was carried in the lead. It preceded the people and was actually the signal of their advance. During this crossing, the river went dry as soon as the feet of the priest carrying the ark touched the water. It remained so until the priest and the ark both left the river after the people had passed over. In memorial of this miraculous event, 12 stones were taken from the Jordan River at the place where the priests had stood. Over the following years, the ark ended up in Bethel, where it was being cared for by the priest Pinhas, the grandson of Aaron. Later, it was kept at Shiloh, another religious center around 16 kilometers north of Bethel during the time of the prophet Samuel's apprenticeship. When the Israelites were defeated by the Philistines, the ark was captured by the Philistines, and its carers Hophni and Pinhas were killed. The Philistines took the ark to many places in their country, but wherever they took it, misfortune befell them. The ark was later returned to the Israelites. It was carried along with King David when he fled from Jerusalem at the time of Absalom's conspiracy, but he then ordered Zadok the priest to return it to Jerusalem. According to archaeological evidence, there was strong cultic activity at the Kiryat Ye'arim in the 8th and 7th centuries BC. This was well after the ark was supposedly removed from there to Jerusalem. Archaeologists did find a large elevated podium associated with the northern kingdom, which may have been a shrine. Scholars think that the story of the ark was independently crafted around the 8th century in a text called the Ark Narrative. Afterwards, it was incorporated into the main biblical narrative exactly before the Babylonian exile. Thomas Romer has suggested that originally the Ark may have carried sacred stones of the kind found in the chests of pre-Islamic Bedouins. He speculated that these could have been a statue of Yahweh or maybe a pair of sculptures depicting Yahweh and his companion goddess, Ashura. On the other hand, Scott Nogle argued that the parallels between the Ark and these practices still remain unconvincing, partially because the Bedouin objects tend to lack the finesse, structure, function, and mode of transportation of the Ark. Nogle thinks that the ancient Egyptians were known for placing written covenants beneath the feet of statues, which is further parallel to the placement of the covenantal tablets inside the Ark. Since the Ark disappeared from the biblical narrative, there have been several claims about its possession and discovery. Various historians, scholars, and archaeologists have suggested its possible location. One of the more popular theories was presented by the distinguished British writer Graham Bruce Hancock. He is known for promoting pseudoscientific theories involving numerous ancient civilizations and lost lands. Hancock is known for speculating that the Ice Age civilization was destroyed in a cataclysm. However, the survivors from that time passed their knowledge to hunter-gatherers, who in turn gave rise to the earliest known civilizations such as ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Mesoamerica. He also conducted extensive research on Africa for The Economist. And after his tenure in the African continent, Graham Hancock came forward with the assertion that he may have discovered the exact location of the Ark of the Covenant. In one of the most famous books authored by Graham, The Sign and Seal, The Quest of the Lost Ark of the Covenant, he documented that during the reign of Manasseh, the Ark was removed from Solomon's temple. It was allegedly transported to Elephantine Island along the Nile and eventually was placed in the Church of St. Mary Zion in the small town of Axum in Ethiopia. Hancock claims that the Ark still exists in that town today. Bezalel Poten tried to draw a correlation between Hancock's finding and archaeological evidence of a temple existing in Elephantine along the River Nile. A Jewish temple allegedly stood on the southern top of this river island between the 6th and 5th centuries BCE. He speculates that it may have been built to house the Ark. And besides the archaeological remnants, the hoard of documents called the Elephantine Papyri provides exceptional evidence for this. These documents were first discovered in 1893 by Charles Edwin Wilbur, who worked as a journalist in New York. They had been lying in a warehouse for half a century before being shipped to the Egyptian department of the Brooklyn Museum. That's when scholars realized that Wilbur had somehow acquired the Elephantine Papyri. Hancock also claims that these papyri are the primary source of evidence that the Ark actually made a stop on Elephantine Island. Research and reconstruction of the temple also revealed that it was oriented towards Jerusalem. It measured 60 cubits long and 20 cubits wide, which are the same dimensions as Solomon's temple. Because of this, Hancock has concluded that the Ark went first to Elephantine in Egypt and arrived in Ethiopia only in the 5th century BCE. Hancock's theory about the Ark's existence at the Temple of Elephantine may have some loopholes and has also been critiqued by many scholars, but the British journalists claim that its currently present in Ethiopia has received approval from numerous schools of thought. Hancock firmly believes that the Ark doesn't rest beneath the Temple Mount in Israel, and his theory isn't new. In fact, documentary evidence has indicated that the Templars located the Ark in Ethiopia but were not able to return it to Jerusalem. The Jews of Ethiopia, however, don't necessarily agree with Hancock's theory of how the Ark ended up in their land. They definitely attest the Ark is in their presence, however, according to them, it arrived during the reign of King Solomon. Whereas Hancock proposed that the Ark arrived in Ethiopia out of a crisis during King Manasseh's reign. The Ethiopian manuscript Kebra Nagast, which when translated means the glory of kings, says the Queen of Sheba seduced Solomon and later bore him a son named Menelik, who was educated by his father in Jerusalem. Upon reaching adulthood, Menelik left to rejoin his mother and took the Ark with him. The Kebra Nagast narrates how the real Ark of the Covenant was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik with divine assistance, while a forgery was left behind in the temple in Jerusalem. However, Hancock has discounted this theory as he believes that the Ark arrived in Ethiopia nearly 500 years after the Queen of Sheba's famous visit to Jerusalem. However, archaeologist John Holliday from the University of Toronto has called Hancock's theory garbage and hogwash. Another former professor of Ethiopian studies at the University of London, Edward Uhlendorf, also stated that he wasted a lot of time reading Hancock's book. Despite the disputed theories about how and when the Ark arrived in Ethiopia, its presence in the country has been well documented by the local Jewish faithful. The Ethiopian Jews claim that the Ark lies in the Church of Mary, Zion, in the small town of Axum. This claim is also one of the sources behind Hancock's findings. According to legend, the Ark is guarded by a monk who devoted his life to the task. It is off limits to all persons, including the kings and bishops. Replicas of the Ark are found in all Ethiopian monasteries and churches. Strangely, these replicas are also off limits. In fact, according to their beliefs, no church is fit for worship unless a copy of the Ark is installed in it, and no service is considered sacred without its presence. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church also confirmed that they possess the Ark in Axum. It is currently kept under guard in a treasury near the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. Replicas of tablets within the Ark, called tabots, are also kept in every Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo church. In June 2009, the Patriarch of the Orthodox Church of Ethiopia, Abun Paulos, said that he would announce the unveiling of the Ark of the Covenant to the world on the next day. He also said that it had been kept safe and secure in the Axum Church. However, the following day he announced his decision to not reveal the Ark after all, but he said that he could attest to its current status.